Very good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. It's rather hot out there, as Gabby mentioned. So very happy to have you all. So this is a session. Carl and myself and Zhang will be co-chairing. And it's titled Innovations in Resident Education. And I'm just going to read out the purpose of this session, which resident education techniques and methods continue to evolve towards a student-centered emphasis and individualization based on student needs. So in the next 1.5 hours, we're going to be exploring teaching innovations such as the flipped classroom, new technology, artificial intelligence, and social media, and where they play a role in resident education. So after this, you should be able to employ effective, engaging, and innovative methods, which you will hopefully take home and use in your own classrooms for your own resident education. Okay, without much ado, I'm going to be handing over the podium to Carl, because I'm scheduled to talk at the same time in a neighboring room. So I will just run over there and give my talk, and I'll be right back. Once again, welcome to all of you.
Okay, and as educators, I'm sure you will all stay on time as part of a good educational principles. So we do have a little extra time at the end, but I'm sure you'll be staying on time. I'm not sure we have a timer set up or not. I will keep time though. So we have 6 talks. Each will be 10 minutes. Our first talk will be by Poman Chan from Hong Kong, I believe. Yes. And he'll be talking on the flipped classroom for ophthalmology teaching, a randomized trial.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. So I'm going to talk about this flipped classroom for ophthalmology teaching. It was actually run as a randomized controlled trial, mainly for medical students. So these are my financial disclosure, not related to this talk, really. Now, the outlines are the follows. The challenges that teaching of non-core specialty in medical school. I'm sure some of you probably know that medical students, unless they really want to go for ophthalmology, they might not be very interested. Even for those who want to go for ophthalmology, they probably want to get a good grade in somewhere else and, you know, get into the specialty. Now, also, I will show you some of the results of our randomized controlled trial, about flipped classroom case-based learning, what we call an FCCL model, versus a traditional lecture-based module for ophthalmology education, and also other developments in education in our department. Now, this is the program that we have, the 6 years program in medical school, and I'm sure you know it's all very packed, and this is the clinical aspect. This last 3 clinical years, and ophthalmology stands here. The last year, 12 weeks rotation of a senior surgical dressership or clerkship, and that was only 1 week for the whole of their life to do ophthalmology, unfortunately. So not a lot of them are very interested, and for undergraduates, it's not examinable in our faculty because we don't really want to upset the students. There's an opportunity cost for them to learn ophthalmology because they come in for 1 week and then they have to forget about everything, try to get engaged, get used to it, and by the time at the end of the rotation, they sort of get what ophthalmology is about, but it's about the end of the whole rotation. So it's also very difficult for them to forget about everything and then come back again. It's not really that relevant to medicine and surgery, and too little time for them. It doesn't seem to be relevant to them. It's really simply they're just not interested. And for postgraduate, when I was a trainee, I found it very difficult because there seems to be no good textbooks and poor basic knowledge. And I can understand now as a faculty member because you don't get marks or any score by writing good textbooks. All right, you have to go and write good papers. And so the nature is different now to learn in medical school. And the problem is if you look at the other surveys in other countries, they also face the similar problems. They're cutting down in terms of the ophthalmology course. So some medical school, in fact, a lot of medical school are not even providing compulsory ophthalmology course. They are giving optionals. And I remember one of the tutor I encountered when I was in medical school, even back in my days, and said, you know, look, in my school, we can either choose doing ENT and ophthalmology for 2 weeks, and I end up going to a ski course for 2 weeks without going to school. So, you know, that's how bad it is. But it is relevant because about 2 to 6% of the primary emergency medical attendants were actually eye-related. And so this is worrying. I want to make it relevant to the students, all right? I want to tell them it's relevant. They have to gear up, all right? I wish to give them knowledge that is going to be useful, their future knowledge, for their future practice, and also reinforce them to learn other specialties. So I hope that the materials I can provide them in ophthalmology would actually help them in, say, in medicine and surgery, which is related to the exam, and hopefully that would make them feel more interested. And also want to make it fun. They can play around with the materials, especially during COVID time. And the materials has to be available all the time, you know, anywhere, you know, while they're waiting for the bus, waiting for their girlfriend, they can click around and make fun out of it. And also make it less embarrassing for the students. So they know where the anchor is. They know they have a compass of knowing exactly where they should stop. And you know, I want them to be expressive during class, but they need something in their mind. They can't just really express themselves in a vacuum, right? So this is how the flipped classroom came about. So for some of you who might not be totally aware of what flipped classroom is, I've just briefly to introduce. It is a type of blended learning where students are introduced to the content at home and practicing in the classroom. And so everything is reversed. Say, for example, when you go back to the secondary school time, you remember the teacher was teaching you all the algebra, which is quite tough in the class. And after spending majority of time learning how to do the algebra, you do a few formula, and then you forget about it, and you go back home and don't know what to do, and you have to phone other people up and ask what to do with this question. And so we want to flip that around. They do the homework in the class, and they learned with the videos outside the class. And you know, I was brought up in a system of problem-based learning, but you know, for ophthalmology, 1 week, that would be impractical. We want them to know where to go. So case-based learning, probably more appropriate. So this is the sort of format of our course. We have the flipped classroom videos, we have some gamified learning, which I'm going to show you later on, and then they come back to the class and I challenge them with cases. So I want the flipped classroom material to be fun, easy accessible, repetitive, and also mindset engaging before they come to a 1 week limited rotation. And in the class, I want things to be repetitive again. They can use the knowledge that they saw outside the classroom and deliver a thinking process for them. So this is our randomized trial. We have students, the endpoint is we have students either undergo our FCCL program or the traditional lecture-based program. And so the endpoint is the student-rated perception and satisfaction of module, and also student performance in the objective assessment. So this is basically briefly the course. They come to the 2 days lecture. Well, not exactly 2 days, it's half a day. So pretty boring, I'm afraid, for the first lectures. Just briefly introduce what ophthalmology is all about. And then when they come to our rotation in a group of 10 to 12, they are either randomized to the FCCL group or the TLB group. For the FCCL group, they got the materials, the new materials, and then they come into class and we challenge them. And we managed to assess them at the end of rotation and also after the final exam in the medical school. So I managed to call some of them back and reassess them and see whether they retain the knowledge. And the traditional group just basically the same lecture, etc. So the difference comes here, right? So this is our program. So this is a website I built. So what they do, I would deliver the knowledge to them with this website. So they can click through it, all right, before they come, learn about it. Most of them are just my voice talking about various things such as red eye and also acute double vision, floaters, etc. And also clinical skill exam demonstration. And in the website, they also have a gamified program that they can play around. So there are cases, they can click around with it, and when there is questions they can't answer, they click onto the buttons, and it will show them the various different knowledge. So you see, you can click through it, it links back to the videos that they just saw, and also there are clinical photos, and also some of the animations, say for example, or third nerve palsy. All right. So statistically, we used the McWhiney-U test to see to compare the score for the Likert scale score, the sample t-test, and also we also did multi-level mixed effect linear regression to check for any associations. So these are the results. We had 216 final medical students, 108 on each group, and demographically, the two groups were the same. And when you look at the result, FCCL group actually did better, most of it, all right, in terms of the organization, communication, and also their perception of our course workload, etc. And if you look at the objective assessments, again, the FCCL group did better. They spent, in fact, if you look at the workload, they feel like they're not working as hard. They feel okay with the workload. But if you look at the time spent, they actually spend more time compared to the traditional lecture-based group. So, you know, they feel better, even they spend more time on the course. And also, after several months of not doing any ophthalmology, they retain the knowledge better. We managed to call 32 students, overall about 60-odd students, and the FCCL group actually did better in terms of the score. So they did retain the knowledge better. In terms of the attendance, we don't find any association with any of the or the groups or etc. Any other factors. And if you look at the if you look at the factors that affect the post-MBCHB assessment score, only the group only the grouping matters. Otherwise, there's no other association we find for other factors. So seems like the FCCL group has scored higher, and objectively and subjectively, they enjoy the course, and they retained the knowledge better. For longer term, I don't have any data, and it's very difficult to obtain. But the model may even help other subspecialties who actually face similar problems, such as ENT, etc. Just to show you some of the randomized, well, this is how I do it, random name picker in the class, so that I don't have to finger point someone to answer questions. And I also integrate some of the knowledge in other specialty as well. So we do service learning as well. So hopefully, and also we influence that to secondary school students. We allowed the medical students to have small group service. So that's a part of other parts of the service learning, and also expands to the online teaching with Orbis as well. So, and of course, advertisement time next year in Hong Kong, APAO. Thank you very much.
I think we'll hold questions at least till the end of the next talk, since the next talk's also on flipped classroom. And our speaker will be Venkatesh Prajna from Aravind, Madurai, India, talking about Aravind's flipped classroom.
That's for you.
Gotta get some exercise.
So, thank you, Carl. Yesterday also they did the same thing, and yesterday also I made the same joke that they flipped my presentation. So I think this is a very nice coincidence that this comes as a connection to the previous talk. This is like a practical experience of how we have done it. So I run a large residency training program. I handle close to 100 postgraduate students at one point of time, probably one of the largest training program in the country. So we have implemented this, and I just want to let you know that 3 days in a week, we use only this model in our class. So the most important thing here is the teacher's role. The teacher's role is the students have to be equipped with some sense of knowledge, and here the pre-class part, the pre-class investment in a student is very, very important. So this was the cartoon which I sort of created. So we have created a template called DigiNow, which many of the students would be using in this country. And that is the afferent arm as I cross. So that is the place from which they gain knowledge. And I'll come up to the DigiNow version in a few minutes from now. And then there is an efferent arm. the efferent arm is what do you actually do with that knowledge? How do you make sure that the students have imbibed that knowledge? And how do you make sure that they have understood the concepts of that knowledge is what I'll be talking about. So this DigiNerve is a platform which has close to 200 hours of video lecture. It was created a commercial platform, and it is an ongoing app which undergoes continuous remodification, and the authors are from throughout the country. We have got very good authors. Pranesh is one of the authors. Dr. Meenakshi is one of the authors. And so we've got people from RP Center, we've got people from LVP, people from SN, and people from other institutions who have contributed to this DigiNerve. So this is a standardized app, and this has close to around more than 200 hours of video culture, which goes through many things. So the students, the main advantages, my previous speaker alluded to the fact that they just want a thing which they can use it at their own pace. And one of the key things you have to understand is the concept of learning has undergone a sea change. And I find that the problem is only at the teacher's level. The students have changed, and we have a big gap between how they study and what we think as teaching. And the quicker we learn, the quicker we benefit. That is the main important thing. I hope there are no students here so that then we can really talk very frankly here. So this is the DigiNerve I'm talking about, which has 200 hours of content. As you can see, you have Tanush Dada from AIMS, Santosh Honavar, who's talking of, so this is like who's who of ophthalmology speaking on this content from various institutions. So we sent a team. So this has got a lot of things. You have to send a team from a company called 3 Idiots who are very apt in creating serials and other things. So it was a very professionally done team. And as you can see, Dr. Meenakshi rightly exactly sitting here, and I use her picture as well as Pranesh's picture. What is very interesting is this is a paid app. And I'll just tell you in business how much it has sold in the past 2 years. It has sold for 11.5 crores. We are not talking of lakhs. We're talking of crores. It's like $1.5 million in 2 years. That is the business which it has made. And if a student has made...
Not $1.5 million.
Yes, it is. 11 crores is a lot of money, Carl.
Yeah.
It is almost that. So that is the thing. And I just want to let you know, today, when I came to this hall, I have done a lot of work in fungal keratitis. My studies are there. I've never been so recognized. When I just was walking along the corridors, I had so many PGs coming up to me and taking selfies that they just use this for learning. And the teachers have got no clue. The students have bought it and learning it from there. So in today's world, when everything is available for free, how can you sell something for $1.2 million if you are not able to have content which is being perceived as good business by the students? So this is precisely what I want to tell in this picture. But before this is happening, a lot of things have to go on. The first thing is a standardized way. This is what we send every month to our PGs. Every month, exactly what is going to happen, what is the hour of video learning that they have to go through the phase, and then they have to come prepared for the class. So this is not like a marquee thing. This is like a regular thing which I employ it, and I always say, put yourself into the market. If the market weighs you and gives you this thing, that means you have succeeded. And I think financial market tells you the story. And so many. There are only 4,000 postgraduates in India per year. And now the subscription, this is 2 years, there's 4,200 subscriptions. That means almost every postgraduate is having it. And that is phenomenal according to, from what I have seen. You know, it's very difficult for us to even convince them to buy a book. And they don't do it unless they see a need for it. So that is one thing which we need to understand. But the second, I come to the efferent arm. The efferent arm, oh, I'm sorry for this, I can see it here well. But anyway, it's assigned to two PGs. The class is actually done by the postgraduates themselves, who have already seen it, to the choir, who has already seen it. And the teacher is just there as a facilitator. And they create 50 MCQs for each lecture, the postgraduates themselves. And then the classes, the students become the class administrators and to teach, while the teacher sits along with the students. And I'll show you a video. Can you play the video, please? Video with the sound.
It's a multi-select question. Conditions in which anisocoria increases in bright light are.
So they use a Kahoot app. Everybody is encouraged to use their mobile phones in the class. So all these negative things of not using this, all that things change.
So anisocoria increases in bright light. Anisocoria increases in dim light. Can you tell me the causes?
So anisocoria, which increases in dim light, mostly it will be due to a Horner syndrome or pharmacological causes, and sometimes it can be physiological also. And in cases of anisocoria, which is increasing in the bright light, it will be a sphincter pupillae damage.
So in my 30 years of teaching, I've never seen such kind of interaction between a teacher and a postgraduate in the class. They're always scared. It's always a monologue. And if something is happening like this, that means we have really achieved. So here people are just, we make it interesting. As you can see, they're all divided in groups. Questions will be asked in between presentations. It will be like this. It will be like an almost informal presentation. And yesterday in a talk, I was about to tell, when the postgraduates themselves take a class, they take it to a different level. Please trust me. They do a much better job than us. So I was just telling an example. When they were telling a question, which I can never forget, I was just sitting in a class, and then the answer was C, and the question was, the postgraduate was handling the class, and he asked which is the correct option. And then after the class is over, after that question is over, he just asked another question. How will you transform the question to make option A as the right answer? That was fundamentally life-changing according to me. They were really going to the depth of the concept and trying to understand what is really, really interesting. So the advantage is, it is an access to standardized content. This is important. Standardized content is very important, and that is made by experienced teachers across this thing. That's a deep knowledge, able to manage the class with poise. The only thing is, the teacher is also under pressure, because here is a group who knows much better than the average student. So you have to elevate yourself to a different level in order to handle these people. And then participative has revolutionized the learning of the PGs. So I think I personally was feeling a lot more this thing, because we were investing close to almost $500,000 US. That was the amount of money which was put. And in 2 years, the company has made $1.3 million. That is good business call. And I am very, very proud of the fact, and I'm so thankful to the contributors here, including Dr. Meenakshi, Dr. Pranesh, where single rupee, to the last rupee, everything goes to charity. And so it's a complete cycle. I mean, the royalty which we get completely goes to charity. So I'm very happy when I talk about money. But more importantly, I think we have not understood anything for the past 40 years. And now I have really, really feel that this has transformed education at least Aravind. Thank you very much for your here.
So we do have time for, if there are questions about the flipped classroom, either the first two talks. If there are any questions. I'm not sure there will be or not. Let's see. This is online too, so I'm looking to see if there are any questions on our little thing that's.
I don't think so. I don't think that is the only thing. The only thing in a standardized content format is when a person is being spoken to. So first of all, the students are used to studying like this. The students are not studying like this. If you see, they use their thumb, they don't use the index finger. Fundamental change. You see your children doing it, you see your grandchildren doing it, that has changed. So you have to reach to that audience. The second audience is they learn it from a completely different view, that they don't read through anything. They get used to that. It is something like hearing that music. So their concept of learning has become completely different, and their interpretation of knowledge. And I'll just tell you one good thing about this app. Now let us say Meenakshi's topic is going on, and then it asks, do you want to take a question? And then if you say yes, and if you answer the question right, it proceeds. If the answer is wrong, the app automatically takes you to the place where Dr. Meenakshi has made that comment, so that the student gets it reinforced. You can never do that, sir, in a real class.
Dr. President, I've never asked you this question about the evolution of DigiNerve. Did you, when you conceived it, did you think it would be used for a flipped classroom?
No, and frankly also, madam, that was not my idea. So my son was studying in the final year MBBS, and when I used to come from upstairs, I used to constantly see him with his iPad. And I used to tell him, this is not the way to study. I said, read a book, get a standardized book. He was studying Marrow for the post-graduation. And he said one thing. He just told me, the world has changed. You are going to have students who are used to this. And if you don't change, then you're not going to be in sync with the students. I was completely shocked. I was actually upset with him. But if this has to be dedicated, this has to be dedicated to him. I never thought of it to being used as the first creating it, leave alone using the efferent arc. But the efferent arc of it was again a casual thing when I just saw a folder from Bascom Palmer where they were saying they were introducing flipped classroom for the residents. So I sort of meshed it in my head. Why don't we do this and do that? And then I think the most successful part of it is allowing the students to be the people who actually create the class and who create the gaming interface.
Okay, one more question?
Sorry, thank you very much. It's totally intriguing. How do you standardize the teaching from, there's so many lecturers, so it could be quite difficult to make them sort of standardized, or do you not standardize them at all?
So it is one thing is I selected the teachers across the country. As I told you, it is not limited to one organization.
Right.
To just tell you the success of that story, I just went through, it looks like a commercial, but I don't mind because it's just everything is going to charity. I just saw that they have a separate booth for DigiNow. That is the business they have done. So what we did is, we just told this thing, this is what I really want. I just told, for example, let me just tell the thing to Dr. Meenakshi. I said, I've always seen your way of reinforcing this, 1, 2, 3. I said, please do that audio-visual connect. Don't be like a staid performer. So this is like a way somebody teaches their natural instinct, and I chose people whom I knew had the capacity to reach out. See, Pranesh, each one of his video has like 40,000 viewers. So employ him. So I was like a producer getting very good performers who could really go and reach out to this thing. I didn't rely only on my own institution for creating content.
Okay.
Oh.
Nope.
Sir, I'm asking too many questions. My experience, I daily have my classes with my DMB students.
No, you go ahead and stand.
Students, I usually depend on either DigiNow or I focus online, something like that, to run that video and then discuss. And 50% of my students are opposing. Sir, we want to make our own presentation and we want to present. I tell them to to make that quality of video, you need a lot of resources and you have to spend a lot of time. Why waste your time? Use already available methods. Which one is?
No, I think
you
you,
suggest?
you use, sir, I was just telling, no, so you can use that energy which they want to be creative on how they want that class run. That can be a phenomenal interaction of both the strengths of both the ideas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Prajna. Next up is Dr. Karl Golnick, and he's going to be speaking on really hot topic, which is AI to facilitate teaching and assessing.
Thanks. And I just wanted to add one thing. Another good practice is having that audience response system allows you to see if the students know the answers or not. So I use something differently. It's called Slido, no financial interest. And I tell them they have to write in the answer, so instead of multiple choice. And if you don't know, just write don't know, because it's anonymous. I don't know who said, but then I know. No one knows the answer. We're going to spend more time. Or everybody knows the answer. Okay, next question. And so it's a great way to get that interactivity during the session. And, you know, there's always someone saying, raising their hand with the right answer if you don't have, and you know they know the answer, but you don't know about everybody else. So the audience response makes it interactive and gives you information about what the class knows. All right. So AI to facilitate teaching and assessing. I unfortunately have no financial disclosures. My objective is to describe several ways AI will enhance teaching and assessing. And as you might expect, there's been a huge increase in publications in AI and medical education, and this is just a graph of that going on over the last, since 1992. And it's all sorts of different types of topics in this review article, which I recommend. So performance analytics, chatbots, clinical guidance, procedural guidance for trainees. There's all sorts of ways that it can be used in medical education. And because of all those things, I can't talk about all those in 10 minutes. I'm going to concentrate on 4 things, really. Simulation, virtual reality, creating cases with feedback, creating presentations, creating multiple choice questions, and surgical skill assessment. So the first 2 are kind of the teaching efficiency, if you will, and the second 2 are assessment aspects. And then I'm not going to cover tutoring system, virtual mentors, data analysis of past performance to see what the students are at risk or where their gaps are, but it can do all of those things. And before we start talking about it, I found this, and I can't remember where I found this, but before using AI for presentations, and I changed that, before using AI for anything, it does not replace sound educational activities and principles. Teaching methods must be good teaching methods, and importantly, everything you do requires critical review and adaptation of what AI is giving you. You can't just ask it questions and use what you get. You've got to have a content expert review it first. So here's an example of AI for creating cases. This is a chatbot that Eduardo Majorga from Argentina created. QR code will take you there. It's Ophthalmology Sim Patient Creator. And so it starts with, hello, I am Chatty, a chatbot that will help you discuss diagnosis and treatment of simulated patients. You just start by writing hello Chatty, or in whatever language you want to say hello, and you need to copy and paste the browser into the link, or the link into the browser, sorry. So you start, me, hello Chatty, and it responds, hello, on which topic would you like to create a simulated patient for you to work on today? You may want inspiration on the case. You may wish to present at iWiki, and a link to iWiki. You can request a case in any of the topics listed. Me, okay, a 33-year-old patient with double vision. AI, got it. Here's the initial presentation. 33-year-old male, double vision for the past 2 weeks. Please let me know if you want more details. Me, more details. I'm not going to read all that. So here's the more detail. So this takes, less than 1 second for AI to give me now this more detailed case presentation of this 33-year-old with double vision. And at the bottom it says, what would be your next step in the diagnostic process? Me, complete ocular motility examination. I'm a neuro-ophthalmologist, by the way. Aha, so here's the complete, relatively complete for this chief complaint of the ocular motility exam, and then the AI says, does this result narrow down or add any new potential diagnoses? What would be your next step? Me, MRI brain. Answer, here are the findings of the MRI brain. Does this result narrow down or add new diagnosis? What would be your next step? And so you get the feel for how this could be used for teaching. But the content experts got to look at these and make sure that it's giving you the right answers. So that's one way you can use it. Cases. It'll simulate those cases way faster than you can simulate them. What about for presentations? And Gabby may be talking a bit about this. I only have a couple slides, but you can use it for presentations. Me, create a PowerPoint presentation on recent updates in the diagnosis of optic neuritis. And then it gave me, this is just the first slide, but it gave me about 10 slides about recent updates on here's the introduction. And I said, okay, well, that's kind of vague. Me, give more detail for each of the slides. And here's what it gave me for the introduction. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to use this exact slide, but it tells me, it gets me started. It lets me adapt this and edit this to what I want to say. But it gave me all the other slides had much more detail when I said, give me more detail. So you can create PowerPoint presentations. You can create different, templates. It doesn't have to be black and white and so on. So you can create presentations. I would say a draft of a presentation, and you can ask the AI to refine it or give more details on whatever aspects you want. So 2 ways for teaching. Cases, it'll create, and PowerPoint presentations to at least get you started. What about for assessment? Well, people who write multiple choice questions, good multiple choice questions, know that it's difficult to write good multiple choice questions. I took a whole day's course on how to write multiple choice questions. You'd be surprised. And so oftentimes starting is the hardest part. Getting that first, okay, what's my question? Getting the answer, that's the hardest part. And so AI can be used for efficiency. So there is a chat GPT for generated case-based MCQs, starting by defining a topic and objectives, writing a prompt, review and refine. You definitely need to review and refine. So, for instance, me, create a multiple choice question on optic neuritis. ChatGPT. And I'm not going to read all that out, but okay, that sounds like a decent stem for the question. Here's what it gives us for the choices, which of the following is the most likely diagnosis. So this is all ChatGPT. And so again, you want to look at it to make sure. Eduardo Mayorga, the same fellow I mentioned, who is more of an expert at AI than I am by far, sent me 10 questions like this, all created by AI. I knew they were because he's not a neuro-ophthalmologist. And about 4 of them were terrible, and I just said, don't even try fixing those. 3 were pretty good, and the other 2 needed a little revision. But I got 6 pretty good questions very quickly. You can also say, provide an explanation regarding your answers, because that's really where the learning part can come in. Here's the explanation from ChatGPT. Here's why that's the correct answer. So I'll let you read that very briefly, but as you can see, fairly detailed response. And please give me some references regarding those so I can make sure you're right if you don't know they're right. And here's what it gave me back for the references, proving that question answer actually was correct. And then AI for surgical skill assessment. So it can be difficult to review videos of surgical skill, and now they are using AI to look at videos and judging the surgical competence. The AI judges it, tells you back how you did at certain steps. This requires a lot of work, a lot of videos. You have to train the AI to do it. I'm not getting into any of that, but it is the future. I'm not sure it's the present. I think it is the future that AI will be able to judge video of surgical cases. So in summary, AI is going to have an increasing role in medical education. I think there's no question about that at all. But it can save time for teachers. But remember, and I have to show this again and again and again, before using AI for anything, follow these rules. You need to use sound educational principles. You have to have good teaching methods. You have to have a content expert review whatever AI gives you. And the educator's role is still key It's just that AI hopefully will streamline what we have to do as educators, make it easier for us to teach and assess. And I thank you for your attention.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Well, the ChatGPT for MCQs, does it have a filter by which you can make a multiple response answer?
You can ask it to have whatever number of answers and or distractors and answers you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
Yep.
right, thank you. Any other questions to Dr. Kaul?
Hi. Thanks, Carl. Amazing presentation. Just to go off that last slide, that warning about
Yeah.
being careful.
Yeah.
I did a study with my students a couple of years ago where we asked them to ask ophthalmic questions of ChatGPT, but the research wasn't about that. It was about the references. And we got them to check the references, 50% in fictional.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but that was actually useful exercise for the kids because it made them realise, oh, okay, I can't believe anything.
Right.
But really, it's
So
important.
that's a very good point. Yeah. So you got to check the references because the references may not be real. So and that makes that may make it more work for you depending. But yeah, you got to check the references. You got to check everything. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Sir, I use one EMR called NewChart, which has a AI assisted with EMR. My ophthalmic assistant takes all pictures, OCT, fundus picture, whatever it is, and we transfer it to my AI, and it gives me the diagnosis, provisional diagnosis.
What was it?
Can you repeat that?
NewChart.
New chart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to transfer the
Sharing.
picture to AI, my AI,
Yeah.
it gives me the report.
Okay.
It's, I can say, 95% accurate.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So AI is a great tool, but there's so many other technology available. So up next is Dr. Prashant Garg to speak on technology to teach.
He's supposed to go over here. Prashant, I think we're rotating you. But they've got your slides. They have your slides though today. I hope.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. And I think you have already heard how technology is slowly creeping into our educational system. I do not have any financial disclosures to make, and the objectives of my talk will be to introduce you to the topic of where else and which other technologies are being used in medical education. Oops. List of available technologies, controversies around use of technology in education, and the pros and cons of technology in education. I'm sure that at least few of us who were born before 1990 have seen classrooms like this. And these were typical classrooms where teacher from the podium used to give lectures right on the blackboard and ask questions. And most of the time there are few students who are very proactive, always raise hands, yes, I can answer. But there are many who probably are sitting idle without answering the question. We have seen the change where the technology first came in primarily to project our presentation either in the slide format or even the transparencies. We then have smart blackboards which not only were putting drawings on the blackboard but were also converting these into a digital format to be available for students. And I think post-COVID, we have seen that the classrooms have become almost virtual. There are no students. Teacher is sitting somewhere and the students are everywhere in the world. And we also have mixed classrooms where some of the students come to the classroom, but there are many more who are attending virtually. And we have today's session also a mixed format where we have audience here as well as there are people who are connecting virtually to this. Even in India, where people thought we are a low and mid-income countries, you will be surprised that today many of the students are learning with the laptops, iPads, and they are having virtual classrooms during COVID as well as now continuing post-COVID. So this is how the transformation has happened, and COVID in some sense has accelerated the use of technology for education, not just medical education, but different parts of. There are other systems where technology is incorporated. You can see variety of learning management system where who is enrolled in the course, how many credit hours have they done, what are their assessment scores, which courses somebody has not taken is entirely done online on different, and there are many like Moodle, Canvas, and Talent LMS kind of softwares. Then there are on-learning platforms. I think in India we have Byju's, who is using online education system where the lectures are uploaded, people are accessing those lectures. Then the questions are sent to them and they review, they answer those questions, and then answers are already given. Virtual classroom, I already talked, and there are beautiful platforms that allow not just connectivity but also interactivity, where these can be synchronous, they can be asynchronous also, such that you can use those recorded lectures to go through them and understand what are the content and what kind of discussions happen. There are educational app, and Dr. Venkatesh Prajna talked about one of the educational app, but there are many more educational apps that are available, and they are slowly getting into the medical education as well. Dr. Karl Golnick talked about chatbot, and they are becoming more and more popular over a period of time. The artificial intelligence he has already covered, and I'll not be surprised that in future you will have guys wearing the virtual reality headset and the entire class is happening on the virtual reality headset. You will have patients who are not real, they are artificial patients, and even the surgical training will happen on these platforms. In nutshell, I have just given you a glimpse of how technology is slowly creeping up into medical education, and we are slowly going to move away from the typical apprenticeship program into where the technology is going to enhance the overall learning experience, both for the teachers as well as for students. The virtual patients and the simulation systems are already in display, and I think if you go to the trade, you will see many of the simulation system already displayed into the stalls. Now what it has resulted into, at one end, even in this room we saw that on one hand there are propagators of technology in medical education. At the other hand, there are groups of people who are skeptical about using technology for medical education. Let me take you through this debate of those who are propagating technology. They primarily are saying that technology is enhancing interactivity. Technology is enhancing collaboration between students, between different educational organizations. There is a lot of ease of teaching for the teachers. It also enhances the learning experience because you can use the personalized learning style and content in order to learn. And then there are many innovative contents. Prajna touched upon this point. And then you are enhancing accessibility. Good teachers are rare, but if their knowledge can be shared beyond the boundaries of their universities or medical colleges with other medical colleges, with other students, I think that will be a welcome change that each one of us will like to see. There have been studies that have documented that in comparison to no intervention, technology enhanced simulation training in health profession education is consistently associated with large effects for outcomes. In addition, we have all to realize that the next generation or the younger generation, particularly the millennials and Gen Zs, they are so tuned into using technology that if you are incorporating technology, they see some excitement, they see familiarity, with the way they are learning, and therefore their adaptability to teaching becomes much, much faster. There are other advantages compared to typical apprenticeship. The learning happens in a safe environment. You can allow them to commit mistakes and then learn from that, which you cannot allow in the operating room. Typically, as soon as a student start making mistake, you tend to take over the case and try to finish that case. The student has not learned, but on the simulation, you can allow them to go through and see how are they identifying complication, how are they managing complication, and also give them a sense of what are the consequences of if this is not adequately managed. You can then also enhance their learning through the graded exposure to the difficulties and then make them good over a period of time. The other benefits of simulators are they are useful for resource depleted training program. If there are patient volumes are not good, how will you allow your students to operate on the patient? Simulator can help you continue that. It's useful for human resource development, particularly in for example, there are programs where there may not be retina specialists, so they are coming for 2 days. Now, how do you give exposure of retinal surgeries to such students? Possibly some of these programs can give you. Now, many of us in the later part of our career may not see complication, and then if you suddenly end up with the PC break, now you do not know how to manage that, and you end up losing nuclear. In the simulation base, you can keep going back and upgrade your skills. On the other hand, technology is a distractor also. There have been studies that have found that if you allow people to bring mobile phone, they keep going back to check their social media posts and other things. There are other negative outcomes of the distracted learning. It is known that learning takes longer, there is mental fatigue, impaired memory, and most probably the ability to creatively think and find answer goes away because you have answers at hand. This was validated even in a WHO study where they created a working group to look into the technology too, and they found that there is little good and impartial evidence of added value. Technology lifeline for millions but exclude many more, particularly in the low income countries, and some technology can improve some type of learning in some context only. Slides are not moving. I don't know whether I have run out of time, that's why the slides are not moving. So in conclusion, our goal should be that we have to become familiar with technology, but then we also have to make an assessment as to how do you create a classroom, a course where technology is used to engage rather than distract students. Thank you very much. I just want to have a poll that how many of you feel that you will be comfortable with the student bringing digital device in the classrooms. Okay, good, I think. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions regarding Prashant's? Yes, please use the mic.
It's more of a comment actually. One learns as one goes along. With the postgraduates, normally in the morning, what we were doing, we were having sort of asking them to prepare a lecture, and one of them would present it, and then we would discuss. And what we found was that most of the time, what they would do just in the evening, sit down, pick up a PPT from the net, come there and present it. You ask them what is 2 slides later, they won't know. You ask them what was presented 2 slides back, they won't know. So from that, the next step was we started giving them evidence-based, correct, distinct that okay, even if you have to pick up, these are the ones which are okay. And then automatically we came to that flip kind of thing that one day in advance we gave them a PPT of whatever was to be presented, and that 1 hour in the morning then came down to a discussion. So automatically
Get them interactive and engaged. Important adult learning principle. Okay, our next speaker, thanks Prashant, will be Meena Swaminathan from Chennai on leveraging social media to educate.
Thank you, Carl, for making me a part of this symposium. And Dr. Prashant Garg was just worried about bringing technology into the classroom because then they will go to social media. And here I am going to say, please use social media to teach. Okay, let's see how to go about that. So the goals are explore how social media can be utilized for resident education. The objectives are quickly trace the history of use of social media in resident education, list in what ways the social media can help residents and ophthalmic teachers, list what social media is available at our disposal, and share examples of how to use social media for different aspects, and of course enumerate the perils of using social media. So assumption is the current generation of residents are always on the phone using social media, and that's and it's a very correct assumption. Okay, so when we look at tracing the history of adoption of social media, so we're looking at pre-2010, and there was a lot of skepticism and paranoia at that time. The concerns really were about privacy, professionalism in the use, and potential for misinformation. Then came around that time the emergence of FOAM, which is free open access medical education, and that QR code will take you to the entire article. And this FOAM went through several waves, and I don't have time to go through that, but then the first wave were the founders, then there were the enthusiasts, and then the structuralists, and then the participants. So following that, the early use and adoption was primarily to provide access to resources, especially in resource-strapped areas, countries, facilitate discussions. Social media was used also to foster a sense of community. Then from 2010 onwards to now is the growth and integration phase of social media in education. Increased use by residents for personal and professional growth, for not only medical education but also for networking. We find now that there is formal integration into the curricula, not universal, but it is happening. Also, there is increasing development of online resources, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and a global collaboration and mentorship with so many organizations like Orbis addressing health disparities. Now, I did do a literature review, but I just looked at these two articles. One is looking at, the first one looked at the applicants actually checking out the social media pages of the residency programs before applying them, and how that had an impact on their selection of programs or choice of programs. And the second article talks about, it's a review article which talks about social media use in ophthalmology and use in professional sphere, and both are excellent articles. Now, but this is a really, really wonderful and comprehensive article, and you know what, I'm very lucky. Many of the things I'm going to share with you today, the authors are actually present in the audience, so any questions can be deflected to them. And this is one such, where the chief author, Helena Felipe, is right here with us. And so this is a wonderful paper that was featured in the Annals of Eye Science, which is making the case for the evolving role of social media in health professions education, and a literature review. So let's look really at how does social media integration or leveraging help the residents and educators. Really very simply on four areas. One is, of course, for education, promotion and marketing, networking, and branding. So these two tables, the next two tables that you will see, I've actually taken from that article, and this talks about the critical factors for embedding social media in health professions education. So we look at the first factor, which is design of the learning experience. So even if it is social media, you have to make sure that its incorporation in the curriculum, that you've ensured that whether you have decided whether it's synchronous, asynchronous, hybrid, or blended, and also make sure that it's a well-designed learning environment that enables participants to develop meaningful dialogue and share educational resources. Those are the kinds that you as an educator is going to introduce and support. Now, what is your role as an educator? the educator should act as a facilitator. You have to curate the content. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense out there as well. And not only that, you can also use that and enhance and have a topic or a discussion. So you're an amplifier. Most importantly, you're a role model. So if you have your own Instagram account and you are discussing patients and cases and surgeries, make sure that these are done in a very professional manner, keeping all the professional etiquettes in mind, and the social media etiquettes in mind. You're also mentors, and you're guiding the learners and catalyzing the learning journey. All this is very important when you are introducing social media to your residents or supporting them. Also, the selection of social media platforms. This selection impacts the depth of the educational experience, and we are going to talk about that, look at the slides of examples of what do we have there. And the purpose of the learning experience has to be very clearly set out before even embarking on incorporation of social media, that it aids in the formation of professional identity to receive, exchange, seek, create, store, and organize content. So what do we have out there? So if you look at the Web 2.0 tools, you have Facebook, Google+, X, which are examples for social networking. For professional networking, you have Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Vimeo, and microblogging. And knowledge aggregation, you have wikis, forum, and gaming environments, which is again a whole topic in itself as gaming-based environment or gaming-based learning, GBL, as an important tool in medical education is another topic in itself. So I wanted to introduce some examples from our Indian subcontinent. So this she's actually a friend of mine. She runs something called iMentor, and this is her YouTube with 41,000 subscribers, and Instagram is 25,000 followers. And she basically coaches for the NEET exam. But her content is very good for medical students and for new residents as well. Now, if you look at other examples, this one is a very popular quiz on Telegram, ophthalmology MCQ quizzes on Telegram, which is like running 24/7. This, on the other side, is you can see 65,000 subscribers with 2,500 videos of cataract surgery. This happens to be my junior during my residency. He's very popular. He uploads very interesting and very different, vastly different cases of cataract surgery. Now, this, again, as I said, we have our own author here, Pranesh Balasubramaniam, who's King's Crux. Look at what the topic says. This is a short 6-minute stage talk on effective use of social media to deliver quality lectures. That is one of his talks. He's a really, really wonderful teacher, and this is something you can incorporate in your curriculum, introduce your residents to without reservation. And now, I have, this is called Thursdays with Dr. MS, because I go to this particular hospital on Thursdays. And so I have an ongoing quiz, so I post the quiz on it. The answers are, of course, sent to me anonymously by email. And then I post the answers with clarifications on the WhatsApp group as well. So WhatsApps can be used very effectively. And if you look at this, let me see if I can get this going. So this is actually our pediatric ophthalmology network in India. We have so all the time we have patients being posted on it, and there's extensive discussions going on. It is an excellent learning for the young professional. We have currently, if you look, I think we have 606 members. Right. I think I have to, yeah, there you go, 606 members. And so we usually, I have residents who are rotating through pediatric ophthalmology to, to make them a temporary member in this group so that they follow some of the discussions. So because it's something they can do in their own space and time. So we also have global examples in the form of podcasts. There's several micro-blogging sites, and I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And the Twitter accounts. These are very popular Twitter accounts, each one with their own flavor. But the perils need to be remembered. The disseminated information may be inaccurate. Program policies regarding use of social media is needed to guide responsible usage. The regulatory bodies and healthcare professional organizations could collaborate with training programs to establish guidelines, implement measures, and monitor. Is there really an improvement in trainees' performance and patients' literacy with the introduction of social media? This is something that needs to be measured, because this is something still very new. So in conclusion, social media can be an excellent tool for resident education. There needs to be department policies and guidelines in place for their use. Judicious use and mentorship are of utmost importance. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Meena? Comments? No?
How many of you here do use social media right now for your resident teaching? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Use the microphone.
So game-based learning, not really that much for ophthalmology, but there are other specialties in medicine where through playing a game, their knowledge transfer happens. So if you go and look at GBL, you'll find that there are so many examples in critical care, pediatrics, lots in general surgery. So I guess these games have been developed. I think a lot of them also were developed around the COVID time. So to ensure that while they're all doing games, they're also learning. They're playing games. So.
Pranesh's
classroom teaching program.
do you have a talk on games? Saturday.
Do you
so
want
there's
to
a talk on.
Do you want to make a comment on GBL?
Use the microphone because they're
In its simplest form, just a simple quizzing is going to be a game, and Indigena flip class using Kahoot is also a game. To make it more interesting, we have got these popular game shows, and if you can adapt that into off-style teaching, that's going to be a gamification. Yeah. So nothing groundbreaking, but just that the existing game shows and popular media platforms, you can use it in our off-style education as well. Yeah.
So we have a game show in the United States called Jeopardy!
Yeah.
And I have a Neuro Jeopardy! Game show that we play at the end of every year. Right. It takes a number of adult learning principles, and doctors are very competitive. And so we have, it's called three-way Neuro Jeopardy! Because we have teams, and the teams might not seem fair, but there's the second-year residents against the third-year residents against the fourth-year residents. But each question, if you take pupils for 100, we'll have 3 different questions that I decide how tough they are. And so the second-year residents get their question, then they talk. And while they're talking, I show the third-year, the next year question, and they talk, and then next. And then we go back. Okay, let's get the answer from the first-year team, and then I keep score. And after 2 or 3 or 4 sessions, there is a Neuro Jeopardy! Winner, and they get a plaque at graduation as the winning team. It's, a very cheap plaque, but they want the plaque, and they'll come back and quote me 1930s German literature about my answer not being right or their answer being right, and so they get very, very competitive with it.
If I can give you a non-medical example, so my daughter was studying in Ashoka University. And so she was tasked with making a game for Mahabharata. And then she came and asked me for ideas, and we did a Mahabharata Jeopardy! So they had to, the participant had to pick between whether they wanted category Arjuna, or they wanted Kauravas, or Pandavas, or Krishna. And then the game would go on, So it was a Mahabharata Jeopardy! So you can make ophthalmic Jeopardies, yeah. And there is a Jeopardy Maker that's available for free. The Jeopardy Maker tool available online.
Okay, well, our last talk will be by Dr. Gabriela Peliz, who is from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and she is going to talk on planning medical education events with AI.
Is it working?
It did when you tapped.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I have no conflicts of interest to disclose. And my talk will be about lesson planning with artificial intelligence, particularly with ChatGPT. So when we think about lesson planning, usually we think about what our objectives are going to be, what is the content that we are going to include in our lesson. But it also takes other steps, such as the activities that we are going to include, the homework assignments we are going to give to our students, and how we are going to assess them. So ChatGPT, have any of you used ChatGPT for planning lessons or for planning an educational event? Have you used ChatGPT at all for anything else? Okay. So the GPT part comes from Generative Pre-trained Transformer, And by definition, it's an artificial intelligence language model that uses deep learning to generate human-like text responses based on the input it receives. In easy words, it means that you can talk to it and it will provide answers as if it were a human being. It's not, but as if it were a human being. There are several versions. Some are free, some are, you have to pay for them. And there have been already several publications about the use of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence for medical education. So Carl already mentioned the one by Bimi, and I'm going to focus only on the publications that are either systematic or scoping reviews. This one was conducted in the US, and it showed out that the potential benefits are novel learning strategies, where you will be, sorry. So you will be able to develop personalized learning plans, create learning materials, and provide feedback to your students. This one conducted in China shows that it's being used widely for developing personalized learning plans and materials, or for creating realistic clinical practice simulation scenarios, among other uses. This one also conducted in the US. This one was published this year, and it showed potential benefits for crafting script concordance tests and exam questions and simulated case presentations. So just to show an example of how this works, I asked ChatGPT to prepare a 2-hour lesson for medical students on the red eye. I asked it to define the learning objectives and to list the activities that should join the content of the lesson. So if you haven't seen how this works before, this is the main web page. So it's mostly blank. You have down here at the bottom search text, and this is where you will write your instructions for ChatGPT. So this is not for you to read it all, but it's to show you that in less than 30 seconds, I got a whole plan with the learning objectives, the lesson plan outline, with all the activities, how much time the activities should take, in a very, very fast time. If I had to do all this and write it down, all this on my own, it would have taken a lot more time. So we're not going to read all of it, but just to show you a few examples. I got the title, the objectives for the medical students to understand the common causes of a red eye, to describe the clinical features associated, etc. I got what materials I needed, the PowerPoint presentation, the whiteboard makers, the case studies, what I should cover in the introduction, then 20 minutes to be spent on the causes of a red eye and the different parts of it, to use the PowerPoint to explain, to discuss the typical clinical features with the students. Each part of the lesson that followed had the exact time that I should take on everything. For example, 25 minutes for the clinical evaluation, 15 minutes for the case studies, 10 minutes for the differentials, 15 minutes for the question and answers, the homework and assessment. Carl mentioned before the slides, and although ChatGPT does not provide you with the full slide with all the pictures and everything, it gives you, as he said, a draft of what you should include in each slide. So the first one, it's suggested to include the title slide. On the next one, the introduction with a definition and the importance, etc. Then I asked it to list the activities that I should include with the lesson. And usually we think about, when we think about these, we think about case discussions, sometimes a little simulation, but usually that is all. Well, ChatGPT provided me with a list of more than 10 activities that I could include with my students on different, on the same topic, but with different activities, such as case-based discussions, simulation or role play, peer teaching, peer evaluation, interactive quizzes, the role of the eye specialist, debate on treatment options, etc. Then I asked it to create an assessment plan for the lesson, so it gave me the formative assessment during the lesson and the summative assessment at the end of the lesson and what I should do in every moment. And it also provided the grading, the scoring, the feedback, and the follow-up. I also asked it to provide the assessment for each of the objectives. So it gave me, for each objective, how should I assess each of them? So for example, for understanding the causes of a red eye, with a written or oral examination. But for developing a systematic approach to diagnosing the underlying condition, maybe a case-based scenario would be a better way of assessing the student. I asked it to design the homework assignment, so it told me to generate, I asked it to generate 5 problem-based learning cases for medical students about the red eye, so it provided me with a case about acute conjunctivitis, another case about the ocular foreign body, etc. I asked it to create some questions for testing the knowledge of the common causes of a red eye, and here is where you have to be careful, because sometimes the answers or the confounders it provides are too easy, even for medical students. So here it's asking which of the following is not a common cause of a red eye. Of course, anyone would say otitis media. But if you asked it to refine the question, or you tell it that the answer is not appropriate, it will change it to make it better. I asked it to provide feedback for each of the answers. So if you are, for example, preparing an e-learning test and you want your students to receive the feedback, it will be giving also the feedback. So what are the ChatGPT limitations? That may occasionally generate incorrect information, and our colleague mentioned the references. And this is something that it's something to be very thoughtful about. Because as with many great doctors, ChatGPT never says, I don't know. It usually invents something. So you have to be careful and check out all the references, because many times they do not really exist, or they are, it does not take you to the correct reference. Recommendations for teachers, and Carl already provided many, to verify the safety, the reliability, and repeatability of what ChatGPT suggests, to assess the impact on the content and the quality of teaching, and to establish diverse assessment methods for the students. So for assessing knowledge, maybe ChatGPT could provide excellent suggestions, but if you're going to assess if your student can examine a patient, maybe you have to select a different kind of assessment. Some tips for writing prompts. Prompts are the instructions that you will give ChatGPT on what it has to do. Be specific and concise. Use smart keywords, and especially action words such as create, list, generate, build. Identify a purpose. Specify the audience. Tell it that you need this for residents, or that you need this for medical students. Provide a context. This is for medical students in their 4th year of medicine, or this is for medical students who are having their first contact with medicine or with ophthalmology. So I think that ChatGPT can be, and artificial intelligence in general, can be a great assistant. It will make you save a lot of time. It's not perfect. You'll have to go with it. You have to review what it provides. But I think that it's a great assistant, will give you a lot of very good ideas, and will help you save time. So thank you.
Any questions? Yes. Please use the mic.
Thanks, Gab, for the excellent talk. So ChatGPT is the most commonly and most popular AI platform. Do you recommend any other alternatives to ChatGPT which are more specific for after education? It's one part of the question. And second question to our colleagues from Hong Kong. I see DeepSeek being the upcoming alternative for ChatGPT. Do you see DeepSeek being a better, or have you had experience in using DeepSeek for creating better off-the-shelf content for teachers? Thank you.
To the first question, I actually have used only ChatGPT, so I don't have experience with other chatbots. Maybe you do? No?
Yeah, I'm actually very old style, so I haven't used a lot of ChatGPT, and I have to do it with other methods. DeepSeek, no, I haven't tried, and I think as time comes, it has a great impact. You know, 2 months ago when they first launch it, but then you might hear news that as time goes along, they probably need more refinement to build up, and also they might not have enough chips to do that. So I haven't tried DeepSeek yet, I'm afraid.
Please use the mic for the questions.
So before asking question, I will tell my small experience. Dr. Prajna sir, I learned my SSCS 25 years back from the video made by Arvind Institute. 25 years back, I learned my small institution. Nowadays it is a popular as a vast video assisted surgical training. My question is there any 3D content is available for surgical training in VR headsets like Apple Vision Pro or MetaQuest or other video sets, VR headsets? The 3D content is available?
There is no, I'm not aware of any 3D content which is for surgical treatment, but for other procedure there are 3D content, ablation, extraction, looking at the pupillary reactions, ocular.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question to the audience, a very quick question. So how many of you here have caught your residents taking photographs of files or patients and exchanging or circulating it? You have. So what do you have in your orientation for residents? How do you caution them, or what measures or policies do you have in place in your department to curtail that?
First of all, it is a property of the institute. They need not cross circulate or something. They should not violate the norms. See, for example, from the theater, somebody just sends across the power of the IOL and ask it to be received from the department, whatever the power, if they're not there. Or maybe a cross-checking on the keratometry value, which they have the printer and something like that. These are all valid.
Correct.
Sometimes some nonsense also happens. Somebody in the a medical legal case comes and they share this on the social media, and that goes viral. So both ways.
So how do you curtail that? What measures do you have in place, just to share with everybody?
We tell them to be cautious, especially in the medical legal case, that the sharing of information is to be very, very confidential. For example, the student will share the information alone with me if I'm on call, or somebody who is next to me. That is one thing. Or a senior. That ends there. Whereas the other thing which can be circulated, maybe they have seen a patient which is little rare or something.
Right.
That also goes amongst the circle, right? They have a PG group or something, or an ophthalmic the group that circulates there. But we can't curtail that going beyond that, because this ophthalmologist from my institute can share that to another institute. That can go viral and social. That we don't have any.
All right. Well, thanks to the speakers and the audience, and have a great rest of the day.